Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Professional Hypnotherapy Practice webinar, where we'll be exploring how to become a hypnotherapist and making a living doing what you love to do. And before we get to that exciting opportunity, we're going to be exploring at least the gateway. I call them gateways to deeper altered states. And in hypnotherapy literature, according to Leslie Lacron, there's 5. And those 5 gateways open up thousands upon thousands of altered states that we can potentially enter to transform and change people's lives. It's a wonderfully exciting journey. Now, if you want to say hi, and if you've got any comments at all, what you shall see in front of you my shiny head on a purple background. But just below that is a box that says, if you've got any questions. So if you enter in your email address, it's just a system we use. That's how it works. You should only need to enter your email address once if you want to ask questions, engage, and say hello. So if you type in hello, and then I know that you can hear me. So let's just for a second switch over so that we can see everybody. Well, see me anyway. There you go. There I am. I'm in my office. It's the kids are in bed. So hopefully you can hear me. Say hi if you can. So just below, everybody is there. So we've got a few people saying, oh, fabulous. I know it's all working. So let's go to the official documents. Wonderful to see so many of you here. Lovely. Thank you ever so much. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we really get into what we're doing is let's spend some quality time together. You know, as wonderful as the tech age is and all the technologies we have and all the social media, let's spend a bit of time together. So turn off everything and let you and I just say hi. And let's talk about how we can enter into this wonderful, wonderful subject called hypnotherapy. So like I said, we're going to explore what I'm thinking of are the sort of 5 altered states, or probably a better way to think, gateways to the multiple trances that we live in. And then talk about an opportunity if you would really like to master hypnotherapy and help others. So that's not going to be for everybody, and that is fine. So you'll know we're going to go through a whole batch of information. And we're going to go through, when I was thinking, what could we include in this webinar that would really make a difference? And I was thinking about that, and I was a speaker at a hypnotherapy conference once, and it was really good fun. I enjoyed it. I was talking about storytelling. I think I know a lot of you know that I have a passion for storytelling because there's a way of opening people's mind up through storytelling. So anyway, I'd done my slot and had a wonderful time meeting some incredible people. And at the end of it, I was outside and I went to get a coffee somewhere. I do like a coffee. And I come across this guy that was in there as an old boy. And I said hello to him and we got chatting and he was fascinating. He had been involved in hypnotherapy. This seemed like forever. And he seemed to have a wisdom and knowledge. And we sat down and he said to us, he said, let's have a game. Let's see who can get a free piece of carrot cake. I said, what? He said, yeah. So using your hypnosis skills, I'll call the waiter over and the winner is the person who gets the free carrot cake. And I went, okay, then. I'm always up for a bit of play. And also, you know, your skills should reward you in some way. Not sure about the ethical side of free carrot cake, but I don't think in the great scheme of things, It matters too much. So we c so I had a go and, and I was using some embedded commands and stuff and, and sadly we didn't get the carrot cake. So he smiled, he said, "You're trying way too hard. You need to make it simpler." And I said, "Okay then, so show me." So what he did was he called her over and he whispered something very quiet. I couldn't quite make out what it was, and we got free carrot cake. And so he got my attention there. And he says, "All you need to do is keep it simple. Pay attention to the basics, and you'll be amazed how far you go." So before I get to what we say is I decided for this session, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it so that if you practice this one technique, it will open up the 5 gateways that will open up to many other trances. Now, I think this is important. Way beyond hypnotherapy, I've been paying attention to people around us. And what I've noticed is there's different types of trances. I said, I think there's thousands of different types of trances. There's an entrepreneurial trance that when you enter into becomes infectious and it gets other people on board. There's a healing trance. I've known some people in the different healing fields and some being, okay, and some are outstanding. And you think to yourself, what's the difference? And a couple really kind of spring to mind where, in fact, if you looked at them, they look like the most unhealthy people you'd ever come across. And yet when they worked with people, they were doing amazing healings. There's sales trances. There is great manager trances. And what I mean by that is the trance, when you enter into it in a certain way, is infectious. And people around you enter into that, what we'd probably call a mindset. So wonderful amount of opportunity we have, not just in hypnotherapy, but in everyday lives, if we consciously go after unconscious processing and really take that trance to experience in different states of minds. I think sadly, a lot of people stay in very close, narrow bandwidths of thinking and wonder where all the opportunities are around them. Whereas just a little bit of play around this, a little bit playing with deeper mindsets, higher mindsets, wider mindsets can make a huge amounts of difference. So very passionate about this stuff. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, you are in the right place, especially if you're interested in human potential and really making a difference in other people's lives. And I'm a big believer in, if you really want to help someone else, you start with yourself first. So explore those deep levels of trance. So you're also in the right place. If not only are you interested in these altered states that will benefit yourself and potentially people around you, whether you choose to go on and do hypnotherapy or not, but if you are someone who has a passion for helping others and you want to find out about, do you have what it takes to maybe become a hypnotherapist, or you'd like to start building a business, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. If you really want to make a difference, not a superficial band-aid difference, a deep, meaningful difference, not only in your own life, but in those people around you. And if you're excited about the possibilities of trance, I remember being fascinated about this when I was sort of in my 16, 17-year-old, my teens, if you like. And I think the first time I saw a stage musician, hypnotherapist, and I think it was Paul McKenna. And as amazing as all that was, the showmanship, and I think if you see me train, I like the showmanship stuff. But the showmanship wasn't the bit that interested me. It was the potential to help myself and others at the same time that really attracted me initially to hypnotherapy. So, a mercifully brief introduction to whom I am, if that's the correct pronunciation. Whom is good grammar, I believe. So, I am known as a NLP master trainer. I train around the world. I'm also a hypnotherapist. I'm a coach. I've worked with large companies such as Jaguar Land Rover and Accenture, and a whole wonderful batch of companies that have embraced different ways of thinking. I live in Chichester. I've got 5 children. I'm now a granddad, and I live here in a little say little bungalow. It's actually bigger than my previous house, which is just wonderful. If you've never lived in a bungalow, one of the fascinating things about it is you don't need a window cleaner because you can reach the windows to clean them. Anyway, so what has been my interest in hypnotherapy, coaching, NLP? Because they're all complementary. It's because, yes, and that is me. I have gone from the shyest person you would ever meet, low self-esteem. And I think that kind of stemmed from some learning difficulties I had, which included being diagnosed as being dyslexic. So I really had to do something to change my life around. And I will say I worked really hard at making a difference in my own life before I even contemplated helping someone else. So, as I said, I'm an international trainer, hypnotherapist, and I tell you, as I go around, one of the best things you can do in the world, apart from hypnotherapy and NLP and all those wonderful things, is to travel. Because when you travel, you really do meet such incredible people, and you realize that regardless of the different cultures, there is something core to us being human being, and it's magical. Published in got sort of various different books out. I think that my last 2 books have probably been the most successful. One with Stephen Engwell called I forgot the name of the book. All about storytelling, and my last book was also about mindfulness. So all about living on purpose, and we kind of touched on that. So let's move on. Let's talk about you, and then sort of talk about these altered states of consciousness, because that's where things start to become exciting. So if you're kind of thinking, would this be an area that you would like to move into, possibly maybe just out of interest more than anything else? Do people seek you out for advice and help? And that's a good indicator. And if you enjoy helping others and really sort of want to help others, not just have to help others, but really want to, that shows a good sign. Now, sometimes you might be frustrated in what you're doing for a living and you're looking for something new. Then, which means you're probably at a crossroads and you're looking for a new adventure. And you decided that, everyday life where people are talking about, I don't know, Brexit and all the bad things that are meant to be happening in the world, and you would love to work with inspiring individuals and change people's lives, then I think hypnotherapy is just such an honor to be involved in. Now, this is just a partial list of some of the things that hypnosis can help with. And it's just incredible. I think hypnosis has been around forever. We're not going to go into a history lesson, but I would like to get to talking about, so what is the gateway into these hypnosis levels, and what one simple practice can we do? But this is it's incredible what it can really help at a deep level. And these are just some of them. All right. Okay, so I'm wondering, and it's always good to wonder, is it not? Has anybody here had some hypnotherapy before? So maybe not in the classroom, but gone to see a hypnotherapist. And what was that result like for you? So Like this, love this to be interactive. So if you can just type in a comment, that'd be wonderful. There is obviously a bit of a delay as we come through here. So I see some of you had some hypnotherapy before. That's fabulous. With good results. Giving up smoking. There we got one. I did public speaking, loved it. That one's from Mike. Hiya, Mike. Yeah, so that confidence building. And I find it so incredible that entering into this relaxed state can produce such wonderful results as far flung as losing weight, giving up smoking, public speaking, confidence. And we got Angela saying, your husband has and helped a bit. Yeah, so there's different levels of results, which often, and I'll maybe talk a little bit why I think that could be so. Why different, you get different results with different hypnotherapists. Fabulous. Okay, so we've got some people online who've experienced this and some that I know for sure use hypnotherapy. Right. So the stages of hypnosis. There are many different explanations, different stages, etc. So I'm going to take this. This has been adapted from Leslie Lecron's work from 1964. And what we're going to do is use these 5 as a way of exploring hypnosis. And then I'm going to talk about what one thing I think you can do. And you'll probably already noticed that if you're looking at the screen down the left-hand side, there's some sort of gifts for you as well. So I want to talk about how to use those to get the most, so that you can train yourselves to start to enter into these stages as we talk about explore the benefits. Okay, so very quickly. Stage 1 is light trance. And for all of you, those that have been to a hypnotherapist, and if you're already practicing hypnosis, you know this, it's very natural. And often the first thing a hypnotherapist will say to you is, don't expect to feel hypnotized. Do expect to feel relaxed. So stage 1 is moving to this light trance. So we can think of that as starting to relax and slow down our thinking. Now, we're electrical chemical beings. So hypnosis affects the electrical side of us, and which then triggers a chemical change. And hence one of the amazing results we can get from this. Then as you start to move through that light trance, you start to move into a medium trance. So everything in the light, and I'll go into more depths. So this is going to be an overview. And then I'll go into more depths of each of these different levels. Now, the benefits of understanding this and noticing the signals for these different levels, you will notice just how easy it is to go into trance, i.e. for yourself, and how often you may spend your time in trance, but also how often other people are in such different levels of trance that you can really help transform their day by just noticing this and maybe using language in the right way. Now, catalepsy, this is where the muscles even out. So sometimes you'll see hypnotherapists use finger signals or arm levitation. And that's where all the muscles are even out and they're operating independently of the other muscles. So we start to get the first signs of this. Now, as we move into stage 3, we start to deepen the trance. So everything from the light trance to the medium trance deepens and becomes more pronounced. Like I said, I'm going to go much more deep into this. So let me speed up before I go too much detail. Then stage 4 is a very deep trance. And this could all pretty much look like somebody sleeping. And then we had the deepest level of trance. And I want to talk about and touch upon some newfound findings I've had about this level and how to access them. And also how to make sure that on your PowerPoint, you get the word all in one line. Okay, so one of the things I said is I want to talk about a little bit of research around this and tie two different models together to give us an understanding before I go into more detail about each one of these and the benefits of doing so. I mentioned that we are electrical chemical beings. And so hypnosis affects the electrical side of things. So I brushed up on some research and I've discovered the insights into electrical chemical understanding has increased no end. So there has been some new levels of electricity measured. Epsilon, which we see is a very slow, and lambda. So I'm going to talk about those, and I'm going to talk about the potential of lambda, which is a very fast frequency, and where it comes into play within hypnosis. So let's have a quick recap. So first off, beta. Now, this is focus state, goal orientated. So it's linear cognitive abilities. So from our point of view, as practicing hypnosis or entering into this is where we set our intent. What is it that we want to work on? And the beta, which often gets a hard time because we do spend a lot of time in beta. It's if you're feeling stressed, you've probably been in beta too long. But we do need to remember that it makes us much more social, makes us much more witty. So it helps us with our logic and our concentration. So we definitely need it. It can, if you get it right and you have the right level of beta activity, it's akin to having an enjoyable mix of anticipation and determination. But that excitement can turn into body tension and nervousness, insomnia, it's addiction, fear, post-traumatic stress, all happens at this. Okay, so it's worth kind of keeping in mind. So let's first go up into the faster states. Gamma. Now, if you haven't heard of gamma, so think of beta activity. As you start to go, your brain becomes faster electrical activity. You'll go through a level of stress. But what is kind of fascinating about this? It then goes faster and triggers heightened perception, creative state, flow states are amazing at this gamma processing. So you know there's times when you would just felt absolutely perfect. Everything worked for you. You were reaching for something you wanted and it just seemed to be in the right place. The ideas flowed. There's a good chance you were in gamma. And one of the things that's interesting about gamma is that it seems to be, and this is just a bit of my thinking here, intrinsic relationship to consciousness itself. And what do I mean by that is because on anesthetic, if you anesthesia, gamma disappears completely. Now, where this was first measured, going in Tibet, in the Tibetan monks. So yes, it's a monk-like state. And so advanced meditators, often people who've been meditating for years, can really enter into this level. It is worth developing, worth seeing if you can spend a bit of time in some way, some part of your day, as it's puts you into a high performance, focused, clarity state. Right. And just quite recently, and I've only come across this in the last couple of months. So I'm not sure really how long it's been around. And but as our technology has become a little bit more fine-tuned for measuring brainwave states, we enter into what's called lambda. This is probably akin to transcendental spiritual experiences. So if you've been on a spiritual path, this is one of the states that you want to enter into. It seems to accelerate your conscious evolution. So if you really kind of want to push that boundaries, and most of this comes from some meditation. Uh, it's very deep meditation. Now, one of the things, as soon as I learned about Lambada and Epsilon, which we'll get to, I came across a fascinating piece of research, and it really was, it really changed the way I think about some of the outcomes I've had with working with hypnotherapy clients. And one of the things that seems to happen is I've done some really deep work with some clients, right down to the deepest level. We're talking comatose level. And I will share with you in a moment some of the strange things that happen when you work with people at that level. But what seems to then happen is working on this very deep, one of the ones that really stand out in my mind was working with some traumatic situations that happened in their lives, is that they reported back to me that for 48 hours afterwards, they were completely drained. They could not do anything. It's like they were washed out. And then they seemed to bounce back with so much energy and zeal. And under my old model of understanding this, I just thought, well, it was the tension held in the body that's been released, and the body's had the chance to kind of regroup itself and bounce back. But from my newer understandings of entering into these different levels, I think they entered into this lambada, this high self-awareness, their consciousness evolved forward. And often they said they felt absolutely like walking on clouds for several days. And I'm going to share where hypnosis can trigger that response, and a little bit of theory why I think that happens. So it's fast brainwaves. We're talking hundreds of 200 hertz. And I think there's an integration that goes on, that there's a highly focused wholeness, I think is the word I want to use there, of consciousness that is coupled with deep stillness. Oh, spooky stuff. Well, I find it spooky. It's just fascinating, the brain. And we're just coming at it from the one, the electrical activity that's leading into this. So there's lots of potential here. Okay, so let's very quickly talk about alpha. Alpha is, you'll probably recognize straight away, is where your brainwaves slow down, you're daydreaming. It's often known as the artistic state. Creativity opens up. And this is where we can also start to work with emotions, and we can start to balance out emotions, which is great for hypnosis. And if somebody's got a problem, this is where the alpha states come into play. What I find is that a lot of people within the hypnotherapy fields work at this alpha kind of theta stage. Now, the theta is that point where you're about to fall asleep. You're not asleep, but you're not awake. It's that you have insights, vivid visualizations happen at theta. An odd little quirk is when you can tell when you just move from alpha into theta activity, because initially any images in your mind will go black and white for a little while before the color response. And this is the stage where, if we've got some deep-seated habits like smoking, eating, dependency on other people, definitely want to do the first couple of sessions moving down through alpha, touching in onto theta to get the results that we're after. Now, delta is where you're asleep. It repairs your immune system, your muscles are being repaired. It's the seat of your consciousness. It's important to get down to this delta. And I used to think, because this is such an evolving field, so much research has been going on recently, that you could carry on with the hypnosis sessions, but when somebody's in true delta, consciousness has gone, and that is true. They are still hearing everything going on at the same time. So I kind of was in two places where I think we could have gone with this that delta, but it's important stuff. You can still work at that level. But here's what I wanted to talk about: epsilon. Epsilon. So this was discovered by Dr. Jeffrey Thompson, and he was using some very new equipment, a new EEG that could measure different thresholds than the earlier versions. And he come across some extraordinary states in meditators and yogis and he called this epsilon. Now, why is this important? Some epsilon is a carrier wave for lambda. Let me say that again. Epsilon is a carrier wave for lambda. So if you would like to work at the deepest levels of transformation and get incredible results in your own life, in other people's lives, epsilon will trigger and be a carrier wave for this lambda. It's incredible. So what we can then do is create this cycle. Now, I know I made it sound like it would be great just to get to epsilon and then bang into lambda, and the others are just but it's because of my research I've been doing, and these are fairly new. But what I also discovered, and this is from my own practice and working with some of my clients, I don't think a lot of people know I do practice hypnotherapy. I see people on a one-to-one basis, partly because I think it's important, especially as a trainer, and partly because it is fascinating working with people. But what is going to be key to this, to be able to enter into those advanced states that I think will open up significant altered states and create a new paradigm in healing, is to be able to go through and master the alpha, the theta, and the delta, because they're so important. I realize I've thrown maybe a lot of information up at you. If you've got any questions, please do send them through as they occur to you. And but let's kind of move on. So this is what it would look like. So let's start to combine some of this together, so we can start to move towards getting this out of fascinating theory into something practical. So stages 1 and 2 that we looked at before, which are these 5 gateways, trigger alpha response. Now, as you move into stage 3 and we start to deepen the trance, the brainwave slows down further and into theta. And that's where you find a lot of hypnotherapies work at. And for good reason. You get amazing results just going through stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. What I do find is, because they are so good, often stage 4 and definitely stage 5 is often missed. But as we go into stage 4, not only do we retain a little bit of the theta, but we trigger the delta. And if we can get to stage 5, that epsilon can be triggered, which then opens us up for these transcendent experiences. Oh, I'm getting all mystical. All right, so I did promise we'll go into much more detail about this. First, for your own information, so you can start to recognize when you're naturally moving into these levels yourself. And if you're thinking of wanting to start to train yourself to move into these levels, then this is some of the experiences you may have. Now, if you work with people on a regular basis, that could be as a therapist, potentially as a hypnotherapist. but also day to day. Maybe you're a teacher. You can start to pick up when your students are moving into these different levels. Maybe you're a manager. Maybe you just work in a team, and it's going to be useful to be able to recognize these different levels of trance. First stage is to recognize it, and then utilization of these trances in everyday waking state to really help people to get the most from their day. So as you notice here, so as we start to relax, there's relaxation through the body, and relaxation is a skill to learn, which we'll come back to. Muscle face, you do look younger in trance. So if you like to look younger, spend more time in trance. And people often want to close their eyelids. Not every time, but often want to. And you'll start to notice people swallowing. Then a limited response to instructions. So straight away, if you're working in an office and you just notice some of these signs, no good given instructions as we move into this alpha state. Instructions are for beta when people are alert. Okay, stage 2, this is where we get much more pronounced levels of what we just explored, but we start to breathe from the abdomen. Breathing changes. You're likely to see yawning, and people's mouths may open. So if you've ever been on the London Underground, you see people going into all different levels of trance, sitting there with their mouths open, unresponsive to anything. They're moving into this medium level trance. This is great. As a hypnotherapist, the storytelling section works wonders at this stage. Then we move into the deeper levels. So this is where we can get hypnotic rapport. And I think there are some salespeople, some leaders. There are what people we often call charismatic, seem to be able to trigger a theta response as well as this gamma response and create an incredible hypnotic rapport while in the waking state. From a hypnotherapist point of view, that hypnotic rapport really starts to deepen at this level. And when people move to this, they'll often have their memory gets blocked. They can't remember what's been said. And this is often why I will record all my sessions so that I can give a copy to the client so that they know what's been said. Because a lot of times they'll say, no, I don't remember you saying that at all. Absolutely nothing. So also, because hypnosis has been well established to help with managing pain, this happens at this level. So spending times at this deeper level. So as we move theta, partly because theta replenishes potassium in the system, plus doing a whole batch of other processes. What you'll notice is your brain naturally wants to move into theta in the afternoon. So the more you resist that, the more challenges and sometimes possibly health issues come from that, which all basically to do with stress. Sighing, there's depersonalization. So another way of thinking about that is that the ego has reduced right down and may have disappeared. Like I said, just from what's going on here, you can be amazed at the results that you've gotten. So Angela said earlier that her husband has some hypnotherapy and it helped a bit. And I would probably say that probably means that probably went to stage 1, 2, may have missed going into stage 3, which I believe is important because this trance is a skill to learn. Let's go deeper and deeper. Now, stage 4 trance. This is where you can induce automatic body movements. And I had this one client. Well, he was a student, and he's a student of mine, and he said, "John, can you help me?" And I said, "Well, I'm actually fully booked at the moment. I don't have a lot of space." And he said, "Please, you're the only one that can help me." And eventually, I said, "Yeah, okay then." So we had a session. He sat down. He looked at me, I looked at him. Now, I trust my unconscious mind to give me the right words to say. And the words that come to my mind on that morning was, "Go." And he suddenly went into this very deep breathing, deep trance. And when I say deep breathing, I would say it's very much like heavy sighing. And he was sitting there going, oh, oh. Now, I've been involved in this long enough to notice that this was the unconscious mind releasing. So I just sat and observed him. I observed him doing this for 20 minutes. I didn't say a word and I didn't move. So, and I figured, okay, then this looks like it's going to go on for a little bit longer. So I said to him, in a moment, I'm going to reach over and I'm going to take your wrists. I'm going to lift your arms up in the air and I'm going to rotate your arms in a circular motion and they will then move all by themselves. And I lifted his arms up. I started to rotate. So not only is he now sighing, he's got arms rotating. And I said, when you have fully integrated all the healings and lessons that you need, your arms will relax and you'll come back into the room. So he spent another 20 minutes now rotating arms and sighing. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, his arms relaxed. He looked up at me and went, "Wow, that was amazing." He had spontaneously gone into this deeper level of trance. Now, this stage of trance, where we're moving into the delta, epsilon, which we know is a carrier wave for lambada, there's an appearance of being awake. It is the first time you come across this. You think they've just come out of trance, but there is a stiffness to the muscles and movements. I had one, and I think what happened, they'd gone down into epsilon when this happens, thinking about it now. There's one person, I had this kind of seat that put your legs up so that it was not quite horizontal, but you're almost horizontal. I am down, working at this deep, deep level. And Sonny sat up out of the blue, looked at me directly and said to me, "We need something different. Let me tell you what to say." And I went, "Okay." And he proceeded to tell me what to do. Close his eyes, lay down. So I thought, well, he told me what is needed. So I then said exactly what he said. At the end of it, I said to him, "That was a bit strange." He said, "What?" I said, "When you sat up and told me what I needed to do." He said, "I didn't sit up and tell you what to do." I said, "You did." He said, "No, I definitely didn't. I would have remembered if I sat up." I said, "You sat bolt right up, looked at me and said what I needed to do." He said, "No way." And I said, "Okay then, so here's a recording. Listen to the recording and tell me what you think." He come back and said, "I'm a bit freaked out, to be fair, because that was my voice, but I have no recollection of saying that or even knowing that would be the right thing to do." So so when you first come across this, it can be pretty mind-blowing. But now, knowing after all this experience, I think we'd hit epsilon, which is this kind of deep, deep stuff, which triggered a lambada connection within the trance itself. So it is amazing what you can do with this type of stuff. I don't think you'll see that at work. You might do. You might see it on the underground, but I don't think you'll see that at work. So my thinking recently happened, and as we're putting together this brand new hypnotherapy course. It's been accredited and everything. I know, outrageous, right? So I've been working on creating what I'm calling natural trance inductions. It's a whole process rather than copying other people's scripts or come up with your own. So I've been really interested in kind of weaving all of this into the message. So where do I think, if you're working at very deep levels, you're going to get the most impact? Is it stages 4 and stages 5? So if you're looking for personal growth, outside of the hypnotherapy that we're talking about, really, but if you're looking for advanced consciousness, altered states, and I think they're worth developing, because when I'm talking about altered states, immediately we go to the mystics, we go to the shamans, we go to the yogis and all the incredible meditators. But if you know this and you pay attention, you see it everywhere. Like I mentioned before, people are highly charismatic, people who seem to change people's lives just because they're there. And sometimes you run across a salesperson, you walk away with something going, I don't know why I bought this, but I'm so pleased I have, but I've got no use for it. I believe they have kind of mastered deep levels of mind and have brought it out into the open state, which could be that state of gamma as well as lambada. Oh, the potential of this, what we're exploring here, I think is just incredible and really, although it's been known, the main electrical activities have been known for a while, the applications seem to be centered around meditation, but there's so much more we can do around this. So I think if you're aiming to develop these levels, where do you start? Now, it'd be very tempting to kind of jump into these deep levels, especially because I've been so enthused about them. So I'm thinking about what could we do? Because if we train the brain to start to enter through these states naturally, these are going to occur in a way that is going to be healthy for you. I do think sometimes you can jar your system by jumping into very deep states too quickly. So we want a natural approach. And that approach is through relaxation. And I've got a relaxation download for you. So go ahead and download that. You'll see there's a couple of downloads. And the first one is called Deep Relaxation. And it is a straightforward relaxation process with a slight twist. So let me give you some indicators of how to use that. Now, a lot of relaxation sort of audios are maybe 5-10 minutes long, and they're great. And when I see my clients, I'll give them a 5 or 10 minute relaxation audio. But I've been thinking recently, so if you're thinking of exploring the potential of becoming a hypnotherapist, if you wanted to master hypnotherapy, hypnosis, you need to start by mastering relaxation. Relaxation opens up these brainwave states. So if you can then enter into those brainwave states, you could put somebody into a deep trance, not by using any words at all, but just by entering into a deep relaxation, a deep trance state yourself. And all that takes is a bit of practice. So the audio CD is designed to take you through those 5 different levels. Now, I don't think you're going to get there on the first listening. You might do, you might be the exception. But give yourself time, because I must admit, when I first kind of do these things, if I'm listening to other people, my logical brain stays there because I want to analyze what they're doing. Maybe my profession. So it's okay to do that, but then go through it a few more times. And if you were thinking of preparing yourself to become a hypnotherapist, enter hypnosis, or even really want to access these other states we were talking about, and you want to do it in a way that is a natural progression, we start with relaxation. So download the audio. You can import it into iTunes, your MP3 player, put it on your phone. And Whether you use mine or somebody else's, put some time by every day for, say, let's say 10 days. There's no set time. It's when you start to get that relaxation response, and you can start to trigger that. But if you listen to that audio, and if you've got any questions about using that audio, just type it in, and I'll give a chance to respond to that. As Angela typed in when I was talking about her husband and hypnosis helped a bit, she said they were chatting about that. So, and she thought that was the case. They only went down into sort of levels sort of 1 and 2 rather than enter into levels 3, possibly 4. Okay, so that's a gift for you. So, because I know that if you took half an hour every day for 10 days just to relax, let alone talk about all these wonderful electrical activity benefits that we've been talking about, just to relax, your day would be a better day. So that's just a gift for you. Oh, okay. So Sam says, yes. So Sam, if you can, he said he's listening on his iPhone, so he can't access those audios for downloads. So Sam, just pop me an email, because there's several different downloads as well, just to remind me, and I'll do that, and I'll make sure you get those audios. Okay, so hypnotherapy practice. Where's the potential? I think the potential comes from your self-growth, that exploring hypnotherapy to help other people takes you on that personal journey. From making a living out doing something you love, you can make a living from hypnotherapy. And yes, because Simon's saying, because Simon's already booked onto the course, he's looking forward to starting the course. Big smiles. But there's various ways you can do that. So one-to-one sessions is the obvious process. But the other thing to keep in mind is that hypnotherapy has been around, and a lot of people seek it out, even if they're just interested in it. So there's group hypnotherapy. So you can work with groups of people. I did some interesting work. Well, it's interesting to me anyway. So an old people's home, where real forward thinking, I thought, where they thought that they wanted to change the culture of it, where people kind of went there and started to vegetate. And what they wanted to do was see whether they can get some of the residents much more active and much more involved. So I went and did a series of group hypnotherapy, which included lots of storytelling. And I went and researched some stories and situations from the 30s and 40s to be able to deliver some of those stories and trigger youthful response. And they saw a marked results. So that's an interesting one, group hypnotherapy. But there's also online hypnotherapy, because I do get contacted, and I was talking to a hypnotherapist today up in High Wycombe, and they work internationally, and they do it via Zoom, Skype, etc. I've done a little bit of that, and it's worked fine. So as long as you've got a connection, it's worked really fine. I've also, I think partly because I'm known as a trainer, I've actually worked in other countries as well. And when I've gone there, people sort me out for one-to-one work. So yes, you can work internationally. And audio, creating audio CDs. CDs. Wow. That's showing that I'm old school, isn't it? It's lucky I didn't say tape recorder or cassette player. But audios. Okay, so there is a way to create incomes. Okay, so I'll quickly skip through some of these. So when you're thinking about hypnotherapy training, like a lot of these disciplines, there's a lot of hype and a lot of overpromise with this. So just be careful of watching out for those. So if you are considering this as a career, one of the best investments you can make is in training, but do your research. And you'll find there's different price points across there. Paying too little, maybe the support's not there, as some are overpriced for what you get. So it's the Goldilocks principle. It's not too hot, not too cold. We want something just about right and within budget. And if for whatever reason it's not in your budget at the moment, wait. There's no rush. So anyone puts a deadline on something, there's no rush. Just take a deep breath and relax. The opportunities will be there in the future. There's all sorts of accreditations, and some I've been, obviously we've launching this new course, so I've been looking at a lot of sites, and some of them you get a whole list of qualifications. I'm thinking, how can you cover all this? You must spend sort of an hour on each subject and get a piece of paper saying you're qualified in it. So it's not about collecting pieces of paper. It's about being excellent at what you do. And really, one of the things about life is sometimes we just wait. We're waiting for the sun to shine. We're waiting to find out what's going to happen in Europe. We're waiting to find out if I'll get a pay rise. You need to just start. And you started, you're listening to this. If you apply the relaxation audio, you're taking a step forward, which most people don't take action. And what they seem to do is they'll download everything from PDFs, audios, put them into a special folder with the idea of, I'll get back to that, and then never get there. So if you are going to download the audio, please do use it. I think there's too much competition. One of the philosophies I've had around business is that actually, I think it's sad if a competitor goes out of business, because I'd rather that we're all here. There's more than enough people who need our help, and there's more than enough people seeking out hypnotherapy that you can help each other. And don't let the technical side, like building a website, marketing, graphic design, and all the things it takes to put this together, because that stuff is the easiest stuff. So what I recommend is start to think about having a plan. Planning ahead. Nothing happens unless A, you have a plan, and B, you take action. It's time to invest in yourself. And like I've said, not necessarily booking yourself onto the course, but doing something. Invest in time and energy, which is highly invaluable. Get feedback on what you're doing. So, hypnotherapy. Now, I think I'm biased here. It's one of the best ways to succeed in life, because you have to relax. And when you're relaxed, things seem to work out a lot easier. Maybe that's just me, but life seems easier when you're in this relaxed state. You enter into different levels. You have flexibility of thinking. By moving through these different states, you open up different ways of thinking so that you can live a life that matters, not only to yourself, but to your local community, to the people you know, to the people you touch that you never know. So Mike said he has some work public speaking with hypnotherapists. So that hypnotherapist helped Mike go to a different level. Mike had a message to get out there. Mike probably impacted hundreds, thousands of people's lives, even if the group was only 20 or 30 people, because one idea, one message that lands with somebody triggers and changes other people's lives, and that helps them be maybe a better manager. Maybe it helps them being a better mum. Maybe it helps them being a better dad. Maybe it helps them being a better teacher. It helps them be a better traffic warden. You never know the lives you'll impact. It can enhance whatever you're doing now. So just exploring hypnotherapy just because of the potential, the transformational journey it lends to your life can affect your own career. So you may be an engineer, and understanding the hypnotherapy will shift the way you're thinking about engineering, and you'll have different insights and different ways of, I was going to say engineering, but it's probably not that. So it's actually fairly low risk. You don't need a lot of time. You can do, if you're thinking of doing this as a business, it could be full-time or part-time. So it will definitely, and I'm just saying this from myself. I put this in really for me. It improves everything that you do, everything that you're involved in. So, so if you're interested in this hypnotherapy, running your own hypnotherapy practice, I'm just going to give you some of my own thoughts and then talk about our training. So if you have to go, I completely understand. And thank you for taking part. Please do email questions. But if you want to stay and find out a little bit more about what's going on, feel free to. So the time is to invest in yourself. And there's many ways of doing that, as I've said. One of the ways that you can measure where somebody will be in 5 years' time are the books that they read now. And yes, reading books on Kindle does count, and audiobooks do count. And the people you hang out with. Because every time you invest in yourself, you become more valuable to your clients. So let's face it, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, who will? It makes sense because it is transformational. It's in the name, transformational. And it is such a privilege to be a hypnotherapist, to be there. And I don't think that my model is you're not doing something to somebody. You're there as a guide to open up their better self. And yes, you'll laugh, you'll cry. Your clients will amaze you on every level. They will often surprise you and sit up out of nowhere and look at you and tell you exactly what to do. It's incredible stuff. So information is good. It's a starting place. But professional training, I believe, is for people who take this stuff seriously. So you've got a choice. Your life is all about choices. You could read a book and start a hypnotherapy practice. Yep, there is no rules and regulations about any of this. Yep, I know. It's that standard. You're working at such a deep psychological level with somebody, and there is no kind of legal standards around it. Yeah, I think the only kind of real legal thing that I know about is you need a license to practice stage hypnosis, except if it's in a hotel. I know it's strange, isn't it? But we can go into that. Or you can decide to be a professional and seek out professional hypnotherapy training. And this is our new course. This is what we've been building towards. We have a 17-day full in-depth training on becoming a hypnotherapist. That's from working at the levels that we've been talking about, some of the cutting edge research that we'll be applying to the training so that you can be at the cutting edge, as well as studying the methods of the masters, the great names, Milton Erickson, and all those wonderful people that have gone before us that have built this into a credible profession. But we'll also, like I say, going to learn from the contemporary experts, the people who have been doing the research. We're going to be taking that information and making it practical. So our accreditation is for the National Council of Hypnotherapy. So why those guys and not some of the others? Because you probably notice in the UK, although there are hundreds of them, there's probably about 5 main ones. And I think they're all good. The reason I like the National Council of Hypnotherapy, the qualification you'll receive from us, the accreditation, you'll be eligible to register on the Natural Healthcare Council website as a hypnotherapist. The benefits to that are that doctors and nurses are allowed to recommend complementary therapy if they are on this website. So you're reaching national standards and being recognized for that. So that's why we chose the National Council of Hypnotherapy, because it opens up a gateway to having referrals. Now it's split into modules. We think about it's not quite a year because it's 17 days spread over about sort of 10-ish months. So module 1 is life-changing transformation, where we straight away start to master entering into these deep levels of mind. We're then going to look at different ways of inducing trance, and there are some instantaneous trance states. So if you've seen some of the stage musicians, what am I calling them? Musicians, stage hypnotherapists do this almost instant trance. Yeah, we're going to explore some of those. We're going to be exploring when we do one-to-one work, group work, designing our audios. How do we get long-lasting change and not just a superficial fix? We're going to be exploring language patterns, how to use language to get remarkable results from the first session, then build on that so that the language is woven in and resonates at an unconscious level with our clients. Now, psychological tools for transformation. So we're going to be looking at cognitive hypnotherapy. We're going to look at doing various different processes for how do we apply CBT, etc. And then we're going to be dealing with sort of some advanced issues, like what happens if somebody has an abreaction, they have a negative response to what you're doing. What do you do about it? How do you deal with those things safely? What if a traumatic situation comes up? Throughout the whole thing, we're going to be thinking about building your practice. So building professional practice, assessments and streams of income on module 7, which is going to be very important. We're going to be offering you things like, if you want us to sort of sort out your website. Now, you still need to write your website, but we're going to give you guidelines of how to do that. But if you're thinking, how do you host it? How do you set up the email things and stuff? We'll give that free as a 3 years web hosting as part of the whole process. Thanks, Lucy, for the question. I'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so if you're thinking of exploring hypnotherapy and maybe starting this as just out of interest, starting this as a sideline for what you already do, this training makes sense. If you're a medical profession, because we do attract people from the medical field to our trainings, then this will be an add-on to what you do. If you're already a therapist, maybe you're practicing hypnotherapist and you reach the stage in your career where accreditation will take your standing in the community to that next level and with your clients, then this is the training that's worth doing. Now, what we're going to include is everything you need to set up the business. So like I said, intake forms, agreement letters, intake sheets, websites, professional email hosting. So what I mean by that, so let's say you're Angela Hughes, the hypnotherapist. Then your website, and you've named your website transformational.com. But it'll be Angela@transformational.com. That's what I mean by professional email hosting. And we're going to explore and help you create products, whether that's books, giveaways, audios, and go through the whole process for doing that. We're going to include some deep trance integration audios for each module. Now, what you'll see just below are 2 audios you can download, the deep trance one that we talked about, but also the second one you'll see there, which is a much more of a trance process. And on there, we're using different technologies to help you embed the learnings. So I gave you an example of one of the audios that we're producing. So if you want to download that, now do use headphones for that. And the reason being, you'll find that the story be streamed into a left ear and a different story streamed into the right ear. And for you, those who've done maybe some NLP training and thinking, oh, I'd like to listen out to some of those embedded commands or suggestions and start to track those. Well, not only are suggestions going on in story 1 and in story 2, but it's been designed in such a way there's a crossover. So one suggestion starts in one ear, finishes in the other ear. So you'll have 3 sets of suggestions going on at any one time. I think that made sense, but do use headphones for that. Okay, so a hypnotherapy practitioner is 1850, which I think is a good price. That includes the accreditation certification. So with that, the assessment's included as well. So we're going to obviously we have to sort of have everything credited, certified, and buy everything from the National Council of Hypnotherapy, but also have somebody assess it. We assess it, and someone else check the work as well. So we're going to include all of that, and we're going to do all of this for £1,250. That includes VAT. We'll also say to you, you may repeat your professional hypnotherapy practitioner as many times as you want. So if you need to go over anything, need to check anything, then that's where you'll find. Then you can, sorry, that's where you can come back and redo that, even if you want to pop in for a day. So we're going to include that. Now, some companies will charge half price for you to come back and redo that. So if that was half price, that would be £995. We're going to include that within that. So it's still £1,250. And yes, it gets better. If you want to spread the cost over 10 months, it works out £125 a month for 10 months, and you start the training. So you can apply today. Now, to get this offer, because it's an early bird offer, and because you're here and I love you, please do just email me. Say you're on the webinar and you would like to take advantage of that price. So it's john@nlpcourses.com. So, well, let me just come back there. So Lucy said there are a certain number of hours and clients in order to gain your accreditation. Yes, there's a set of questions that you need to go through, and they're comprehensive questions. You need to produce case studies. So every module, we will spend a bit of time on the module going through the work that's needed, because you need to build a portfolio. And so there's going to be a certain number of hours and a certain number of case studies that you need to produce. And what you'll find is all that information is in the third download that's included under the webinar, which is the prospectus for the professional hypnotherapy training. So have a read through that. And then if you've got any questions, let's arrange to chat and go through and make sure that this is right for you. We have what we call our shoulder-to-shoulder guarantee. Isn't that nice? We'll walk in with you. So if it is your intention to set up a hypnotherapy practice, and maybe it's the first time you run your own business, we're going to be right there with you. So hence that means you can come back and redo the trainings if you need to. We're going to help you. We're not going to do the marketing for you, but we're going to help you. So we'll hold your hand shoulder to shoulder if you like, but I thought that was a bit too intimate at this stage. But we're going to be there for you. That's our guarantee. If you're doing it just out of pure interest of the subject matter, we're still there for you to help you through that transition, because there's a good chance that you're going to come across some stuff, and stuff is a technical term. And somebody says it's very tempting. I believe so. It's wonderful stuff. So there's many reasons why you're here. I'm not sure. So you may be just at a crossroad in life. You're looking to do something that matters, something different from what you're up to at the moment. Maybe you want to impact people's lives in a different way than you have been up to this point. Even you might want to leave a legacy. Deep down, you just might have a calling for this type of stuff, and you really want to take it to the next level. Maybe. You never know. You might be just fed up. I just need that adventure. I need this whole wonderful, glorious adventure. It starts in March, so you've got a bit of time to think about it. And again, don't put it off, really. Take action. Let's get started. So we have covered a huge amount. So if you've got any questions, please do post them now. And if any occur to you a bit later, that's okay too. So you can then post those, just email me those, and you can see my email up on the screen there, john@nlpcourses.com. If you've got any questions about anything we've covered here, please do enter those now. I'm happy to hang around. So as you know, if you've been to any of my events, so I'm always the last to go for many reasons, apart from I've got to pack down, which is kind of technical side. But I'm always there for you if you need to. So whereabouts in London? The venue that we did book has had to back out of it. So we're in the process of finding somewhere else. So we normally, and I'm saying normally because we're now in the process of scrambling for another venue that can accommodate all the dates, normally sort of central London. And but as our search widens, it might be just slightly out of central London. But I'll let you know as soon as I know. So great. Wonderful questions. Now, I really think this potential of starting off through relaxation, which in one way is a gateway towards meditation, hypnotherapy, mindfulness, entering flow states, is the place to start. And if I can support you in any of that, hence giving you the audio, remember that audio for the deep relaxation is a guided relaxation process. And you'll hear me say, we're now going to go to the next level. And that's us transitioning our relaxation to go into that deeper and deeper and deeper levels. Will you get to those deeper levels that we talked about? I think you'll get to theta quite easily. Delta, you'll probably fall asleep. It takes a lot to stay conscious at delta. But that is a sign that you transition from theta, alpha, alpha, theta, delta. You have that potential of entering into epsilon state. And if you can do that, that is a carrier way for those faster states. Exciting stuff. So, which I think I just answered the question by going through that. Fabulous. Wow. Thank you for taking the time this evening to be with us. It's been a real pleasure. If you've got any questions, I'm here for you. Please do let me know. If you've got any questions about the different states, if you different altered states, you want to share any experiences, I'd love to hear them. I really would. I spend my life exploring this. I'm very lucky. And if you're looking for some one-to-one hypnotherapy as well, and you'd like to experience it before rather than from a CD, you'll have to travel to Chichester and come to my my little office. It's very cozy, got a studio in there, and you're more than welcome to. So let's take the chance to do this. I would love to see you on the training. And do share your experiences with the CDs. Or audios, I should say. I trained myself not to say cassette tapes, but I still say CDs. Have a fabulous evening, and I look forward to being in touch soon. Take care. Good night. Thanks, Lucy. Have a wonderful evening, and hope your little ones are treating you well, and you're getting a good night's sleep. Thanks, Stephen. All right, Mike, I'll just read this. Oh, okay. So, Mike, it's about the income, isn't it? Yeah. So, of course, any adventure, there's no guarantees of any adventures. And what I suggest that you do is start this part time, start to build up your clientele. And that includes with your coaching business as well. So, you don't need to jump in both feet. I know it's tempting to. So, if you're getting a bit of a hard time from your family, then just start it part time. Get it going. Get the momentum moving forward. And if you've got any questions, Mike, about sort of starting to build your business, contact me and we'll have a chat. And I'm happy to do that for you. So, to give you an idea of income range from some hypnotherapy, these are kind of ballpark figures. At the low end, we're talking sort of £65 a session. Average is between £85 to £150 a session. And then once you're established, it can be anywhere from sort of 250 plus. So there is an opportunity there. One of the things, if you're thinking about it as a business, is to think about it as having at least 3 strands of income, which can all be done from hypnotherapy. And you mentioned coaching as well, but you can also be creative with coaching. But I'm happy to help. Thanks, Simon. Nice to see you online. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the course. Speak soon.